Sometimes the biggest battles ain't in what we do, it's in why we do it. On the outside, you can look holy, helpful, generous, spiritual. You can serve, sing, preach, post, give, all the churchy moves lined up like a highlight reel. But if the motive off, God ain't impressed. People might clap, but heaven ain't fooled. We live in a world that love performance, likes, follows, applause, titles. They all feed the ego. And if you're not careful, you can start doing good things for the wrong reasons. Pray louder to sound deep. Serve harder to get noticed. Give bigger so your name sit on a plaque. Post scriptures online while your private life stay hollow. And from the outside, it look righteous, but the heart behind it tell the truth. Jesus said it plain in Matthew 6:1. Be careful not to practice your righteousness in front of others to be seen by them. If you do, you will have no reward from your Father in heaven. And I, translation, God checks the motive before he counts the move. You can fool people with your highlight reel, but you can't fool the one who searches the heart. So this hour, it ain't about image, it's about integrity. Ain't about polish, it's about purity. This is a heart check, beloved. A moment to pause and ask yourself, why am I really doing this? Is it obedience or is it optics? Is it worship or is it validation? Fam, let this hit. You can be in church and still be performing. You can be successful in ministry and still bankrupt in motive. But the good news is this: God don't expose your heart to shame you. He exposes it to heal you, to free you from living for applause so you can live for his approval. This block gon' cut, but it also gon' cleanse. Time to check your motives, beloved. Fam, let's anchor this whole block in the word, because when it comes to motives, God don't guess, he knows. Jeremiah 17:10 says, I, the Lord, search the heart and examine the mind to reward each person according to their conduct, according to what their deeds deserve. That's heavy. Translation, people might only see the action, but God inspects the intention. He don't just watch what you do, he weighs why you do it. Then Proverbs 21:2 doubles down. A person may think their own ways are right, but the Lord weighs the heart. Catch that. You might think your motive's clean. You might convince yourself, I did it for God, I did it for love, I did it for ministry. Dude, but God looks deeper, past self-deception, past performance, straight into the core. He don't grade on optics, he grades on honesty. And here's where it gets sobering. Good deeds with wrong motives don't impress heaven. Cain brought an offering too, but his heart was twisted, and God didn't accept it. Ananias and Sapphira gave money too, but their lie about it cost them their lives. That's proof God ain't after the show, he's after the sincerity. But don't miss the hope in this. If God weighs the heart, then you don't got to live exhausted trying to please people. You don't got to curate an image, hustle for applause, or fake perfection. Freedom comes from knowing you live before an audience of one. When your motive's pure, even if nobody notices, heaven records it. Fam, the word makes it clear. Motives matter. So this block ain't about shame, it's about alignment. Inviting God to search you, cleanse you, and reset your why. Because when the heart right, the fruit gon' follow. Fam, let's talk about the trap of serving to be seen. You can be in church every Sunday, holding doors, singing in the choir, running the tech booth, leading a ministry, busy, visible, applauded. But if the motive behind it is applause, not obedience, then it's hollow. People clap, but heaven's silent. You ever notice how easy it is to get hooked on recognition? Somebody shouts you out from the pulpit and your chest swell. They forget to mention your name and you tight for the rest of the week. That's the heart reveal. Was I serving for God's glory or my own validation? Was I sweeping floors because I love him or because I love being seen as faithful? And let's keep it real. Social media make it worse. Folks serving, but every move got to be posted, hashtagged, captioned, just out here doing kingdom work. And listen, sharing testimony ain't wrong, but if the whole point of serving is to be noticed, the motive got twisted. Jesus said in Matthew 6:1, if you do your righteous acts to be seen by others, you'll have no reward from your Father in heaven. In other words, if people's applause is what you wanted, congrats, you got it. But that's all you'll get. Fam, the real test is serving in silence. Can you still pour out when nobody says thank you? Can you still show up when no spotlight ever shines on you? Can you clean bathrooms, fold chairs, give rides, knowing heaven sees even if people don't? That's when your motive's pure. So check yourself. Why are you serving? Because if the why ain't love for God and people, then the what don't matter. And beloved, the danger ain't just hypocrisy, it's exhaustion. When you serve for applause, you'll burn out quick. But when you serve from obedience, God supplies the oil. Fam, let's check another layer. Giving with strings attached. On the outside, it looked generous. You hand somebody a gift, write a check, cover a bill, volunteer your time. Folks look at you like, wow, that's love. But deep down, if you expect something back, credit, loyalty, a favor later, that ain't pure generosity. That's a transaction dressed up as kindness. You ever notice how quiet the room gets when the people you helped don't clap the way you thought they should, or when they don't move the way you think they owe you? Suddenly, you salty. You replay the receipts in your mind like, after everything I did for them, they couldn't even, Fam, that right there exposes the motive. True giving don't chain people, it frees them. Jesus said in Matthew 6:3-4, when you give to the needy, do not let your left hand know what your right hand is doing, so that your giving may be in secret. Then your Father, who sees what is done in secret, will reward you. That means the real reward don't come from applause or payback, it comes from heaven. But when we tie strings to our giving, we turn ourselves into puppet masters. We say, I gave you this, so you owe me that. And before long, what looked like generosity was really control. That ain't love, it's manipulation. Fam, this is a heart check. Do you give to serve or do you give to secure? Do you give for love or do you give for leverage? God weighs that. And the beauty is this. When your motive pure, you don't even keep score. You pour and move on, trusting God to handle the return. So, beloved, next time you reach out to bless somebody, ask yourself, am I looking for their thank you or God's well done? One fades quick, the other lasts forever. Fam, let's keep it real. Social media done turned spirituality into a stage. Folks posting scriptures, worship clips, selfies with captions like just blessed to serve, but behind closed doors, the fruit don't match the feed. And I ain't here to knock Shar in encouragement online. But when the posts become the point, when the likes become the reward, that's performative faith. Think about it. How many times you prayed a prayer out loud for Instagram, but skipped the prayer in secret? Or staged the photo of the outreach, but never followed up with love once the camera's gone? Jesus warned about that in Matthew 6. He said, don't pray like the hypocrites who love standing in synagogues and on street corners to be seen. They already got their reward, the applause of people. Fam, it's dangerous when your brand becomes bigger than your burden. When you spend more time crafting captions than carrying compassion. When you talk forgiveness on your story, but hold grudges offline. When you post verses you ain't even living. That's not influence, that's illusion. But here's the flip. Real faith don't need filters. The strongest prayers happen in secret. The most powerful acts of service never get posted. Heaven got a record even when Instagram don't. And the audience of one gonna outlast the followers of many. So, beloved, here's the heart check. If social media shut down tomorrow, would your walk with God still show? Would you still pray, still serve, still give, still forgive when nobody's watching? If not, maybe the motive got hijacked. Listen, faith ain't a photo shoot, it's a lifestyle. Live it in secret and let the light speak louder than the likes. Fam, let's dig into the first problem, the trap of performance. And let's be real, it's one of the hardest chains to break. We all crave affirmation. From the time we kids, we looking for somebody to clap, to nod, to say, "Good job, I see you." That's natural, but the danger is when validation becomes addiction, when your worth depends on the applause of people, not the approval of God. You ever notice how exhausting it is to keep performing? Smiling when you want to cry, serving when your tank empty, saying I'm blessed when your faith barely holding on. All because you don't want to disappoint people, all because you want them to think you strong. That ain't ministry, that's masquerade. Jesus exposed it in Matthew 23 when he called out the Pharisees. He said, everything they do is done for people to see. Long prayers, flashy garments, big titles, but inside, hollow. Fam, that's the trap of performance. You can look full and still be empty. And here's the danger. Performance-driven faith don't just drain you, it distorts you. You start tailoring your life around what people want to see instead of what God's asking of you. You compromise truth for optics. You trade obedience for image. And after a while, you don't even know who you really are without the applause. But beloved, let me free you. God's not impressed by performance. He's drawn to authenticity. He don't need your mask. He wants your heart. And his approval ain't something you hustle for. It's a gift already sealed in Christ. So check your motives. Are you performing for people or walking with God? Because one leads to burnout, the other leads to peace. Fam, let's talk about the danger of hypocrisy. Hypocrisy ain't just a church word. It's a life trap. It's when the outside look polished, but the inside stay messy. It's when the version of you that people see don't match the version of you that God sees. And let's be honest, we've all wrestled with it. The temptation to clean up for the crowd while keeping the dirt hidden at home. Jesus came at this heavy in Matthew 23:27. He told the Pharisees, "You are like whitewashed tombs, which look beautiful on the outside, but on the inside are full of the bones of the dead and everything unclean." That's graphic, but it's real. A tomb can be decorated, painted, even admired, but inside it still holds death. And that's the danger of hypocrisy. It tricks people into thinking you alive when you really dying inside. And here's the thing, hypocrisy don't just fool others, it fools you. The more you perform, the easier it becomes to believe your own act. You start thinking the applause mean approval, the position mean purity, the platform mean power. But motives don't lie forever. Eventually, what's hidden shows. The danger is deeper than reputation. It's separation. Hypocrisy builds walls between you and God, not because he pulls away, but because you too busy acting to actually surrender. And beloved, it's possible to win people and still miss heaven, to gain followers but lose fellowship, to live admired but never truly known. Fam, this is the check. Are you whitewashed or are you washed clean? Are you living for optics or are you letting God purify the inside? 'Cause he ain't impressed by polish. He's drawn to repentance. Fam, another motive killer we got to deal with is comparison. That sneaky trap where you start measuring your worth against somebody else's gift. And it don't matter how strong you are, comparison will creep in if you let it. You scroll social media, see somebody else's ministry growing, their business thriving, their life looking picture perfect, and suddenly your lane feels small. You look at their oil and question your own. But here's the problem. Comparison ain't neutral, it's poison. It don't just distract you, it distorts you. Instead of serving with joy, you serve out of envy. Instead of giving with gratitude, you give hoping to outshine, and now your motive ain't obedience, it's competition. Paul hit this in Galatians 6:4. Each one should test their own actions. Then they can take pride in themselves alone without comparing themselves to someone else. Translation: stay in your lane. Your race is yours. Your reward is tied to your faithfulness, not somebody else's highlight reel. And let's be real, comparison don't just rob joy, it creates resentment. You start side-eyeing people God actually called you to celebrate. Instead of clapping for them, you low-key bitter, wondering why your blessing delayed. That's how the enemy twists motives. He makes you so focused on their portion, you neglect your own. But beloved, here's the truth. Oil don't look the same on everybody. Whoa. What God gave you was customized for your call. You ain't supposed to sound like them, serve like them, post like them. Your authenticity is your anointing. And if you spend your life comparing, you'll miss the beauty of what's already on you. Fam, motives get cloudy in comparison. So the heart check is simple. Stop staring at their lane and start stewarding yours. God's not asking for their fruit. He's asking for your faithfulness. And let's deal with one of the most dangerous traps, self-deception. See, it's one thing to fool people, but it's another thing entirely when you start fooling yourself. And that's what makes motives so tricky. Your heart can lie to you. You can convince yourself you're serving God when really you serve an ego. You can dress it up as ministry when really it's validation. You can tell yourself it's love when really it's leverage. 17th chapter, verse 9 of Jeremiah says, "The heart is deceitful above all things and beyond cure. Who can understand it?" Translation: left unchecked, your own heart will play you. It'll spin motives to look pure when they twist it. It'll justify actions that deep down you know ain't aligned. And before you know it, you living in denial, calling it devotion. That's why self-deception is so deadly, because it feels right. It feels spiritual. You can be in church, praying, preaching, giving, serving, and still be doing it all for the wrong reasons while convincing yourself it's holy. Why? That's a blind spot, and blind spots only get exposed when you invite God to search you. David got this. He prayed in Psalm 139, verses 23 to 24. "Search me, O God, and know my heart. Test me and know my anxious thoughts. See if there is any offensive way in me, and lead me in the way everlasting." He didn't trust his own read of his motives. He handed them to God for inspection. Beloved, here's the reality. Self-deception keeps you stuck, but self-examination sets you free. The heart check ain't comfortable, but it's necessary. Because if you ignore your motives, they'll rot in the dark. But when you bring them into the light, God can cleanse them and reset them. So ask yourself, am I being real or am I just rehearsing? Am I honest about my why or have I convinced myself of a lie? Don't let self-deception rob you of God's truth. Fam, here's the shift. Let's flip the perspective. We live in a grind culture that worships productivity. Do more, build more, post more, serve more. And somewhere in the middle of all that more, we start thinking that the volume of our work equals the value of our faith. But hear me, God don't weigh productivity the way people do. He weighs purity. Think about it. Cain and Abel both brought offerings. From the outside, they both looked productive, but only Abel's was accepted because the heart behind it was clean. That's proof. It ain't the amount, it's the motive. God would rather one act of obedience done from love than 1,000 done from ego. So here's the turn. Stop asking, how much am I doing? Start asking, why am I doing it? Purity of motive is greater than productivity of work. Heaven's not impressed by busy hands with divided hearts. Heaven moves when surrendered hearts say yes, even in the small things. And this should free you, Because some of y'all been killing yourselves trying to keep up, thinking God's keeping score like a boss with a clipboard. Nah, he ain't after your numbers, he's after your heart. And when your heart's aligned, even the smallest act carries eternal weight. A cup of water given in his name, a prayer whispered in secret, a sacrifice nobody saw, that's what heaven treasures. Fam, this is your pivot. Your worth ain't tied to your output, it's tied to your obedience. God don't just want your hands busy, he wants your heart pure. And when the why is right, the what becomes worship. Fam, let's flip into the divine remix. Jesus himself called this out. In Matthew 23:27-28, he told the Pharisees, "You are like whitewashed tombs, which look beautiful on the outside, but on the inside are full of the bones of the dead. In the same way, on the outside you appear to people as righteous, but on the inside you are full of hypocrisy and wickedness." That's heavy. Jesus wasn't playing about motives. The Pharisees mastered performance, long prayers in public, loud fasting, big offerings. They had the optics of holiness, but not the heart of it. And Jesus wasn't impressed. He said straight up, "Y'all clean outside, but dead inside." That's proof that polish without purity don't move heaven. Now let's remix that to us today. You can have the Bible app streak. You can post blessed quotes daily. You can serve on every team at church. But if your motive is status, applause, or control, it's the same Pharisee spirit. Whitewashed tomb vibes. And Jesus is still saying, that ain't it. But catch the grace. He didn't call it out to condemn. He called it out to cleanse. Jesus never exposed without offering a way back. And that way is authenticity. Motives laid bare before God. Hands lifted not for cameras, but for surrender. Service done not for titles, but for love. Giving done not for leverage, but for trust. Fam, the remix is this. God don't want your act, he wants your honesty. He'd rather the raw, unfiltered, "Lord, I'm struggling," than the fake, polished, "Lord, I'm perfect." The former builds intimacy, the latter builds walls. So, beloved, this is the call. Drop the Pharisee mask. Let God cleanse not just the outside, but the inside. Because when motives align, your whole life becomes living worship. Fam, let's run it back to the very beginning. Cain and Abel. Both brothers brought an offering to God. From the outside, they both looked like worshipers. Two sacrifices laid on the altar, two men given to the Lord. But heaven didn't respond the same. No, Genesis 4:4-5 says, "The Lord looked with favor on Abel and his offering, but on Cain and his offering he did not look with favor." Say, same act, different motive. Abel brought his first and his best. His heart posture was love, reverence, surrender. Cain brought something, but it wasn't his best. And the truth is, God ain't looking at the amount, he looking at the intent. Abel's gift was worship. Cain's was obligation. Abel gave from devotion. Cain gave from duty. And that's the difference between favor and frustration. But watch what happens when motives go unchecked. Cain got angry. He started comparing, resenting, spiraling. God even warned him in Genesis 4:7. "If you do what is right, will you not be accepted? But if you do not do what is right, sin is crouching at your door." In other words, fix your motive or sin gonna exploit it. And ain't that still true today? You can give, serve, worship, but if you do it out of jealousy, competition, or half-heartedness, it breeds bitterness. You'll start side-eyeing people whose motive's pure, hating their favor instead of checking your own heart. Fam, this is the remix. Your offering ain't just about what's in your hand, it's about what's in your heart. You can't bribe God with activity. He ain't looking for leftovers. He's asking for first fruit. And when your motive pure, the same act others overlook becomes the very gift heaven honors. So, beloved, let Cain and Abel be the check. Don't just bring God something. Bring him your best, your first, your heart, because the motive makes the difference between rejection and favor. Fam, let's look at the widow's mite, one of the clearest heart checks in the whole Bible. Luke 21, 1-4 tells us Jesus watched people giving at the temple. The wealthy came through dropping big coins, making noise with their offerings. Folks probably whispered, "Wow, they really blessing the house." But then came a poor widow with 2 small copper coins, barely worth anything. And Jesus said, "This poor widow has put in more than all the others. All these people gave out of their wealth, but she, out of her poverty, put in all she had to live on." Catch it. Same act of giving, but heaven weighed the motives. The rich gave out of surplus. It didn't cost them much. But the widow gave out of sacrifice. Her motive wasn't optics, it was devotion. She wasn't trying to impress, she was trying to honor. And in heaven's math, her 2 mites outweighed their mountains. Fam, this flips everything. God ain't impressed by the size of the gift. He's moved by the sincerity of the heart. You can drop stacks in the offering, but if it's for clout, it's noise. You can give pennies, but if it's for love, it's worship. The motive shifts the weight. And here's what's wild. Jesus didn't stop the rich from giving, but he redefined what more means. The world counts numbers. God counts motives. That means even when you feel small, unseen, unnoticed, heaven might be watching you closer than the ones everybody applauding. So, beloved, here's the remix. Don't despise your small when it's given with sincerity. Don't chase optics, chase obedience. God sees the heart behind the hand. And sometimes the smallest seed sown in purity carries the biggest harvest. Fam, let's check a contrast that cuts deep. Barnabas versus Ananias and Sapphira. Acts 4 tells us Barnabas sold a field, brought the money, and laid it at the apostles' feet. No stunting, no strings, no half-truths, just pure generosity, motive clean, heart surrendered, and his gift became a blessing to the whole community. But then Acts 5 hits. Ananias and Sapphira tried to copy the move. They sold property too, but secretly kept back part of the money while pretending to give it all. On the outside, it looked generous. They showed up with smiles and an offering. But inside, deception. Their motive wasn't worship, it was reputation. They wanted the honor without the honesty. And the result was tragic. Both dropped dead when confronted. Fam, that's heavy, but it's real. When God wasn't punishing the amount they gave. He was exposing the motive behind it. If they had simply said, "Here's part of the sale," it would have been fine. But they wanted the applause of total sacrifice without the cost. They faked devotion, and heaven don't honor pretense. This story ain't about scaring you. It's about warning you. Motives matter that much. Generosity with lies is still corruption. Service with pride is still sin. You can't trick God with optics. He sees through the mask. And here's the hope. When your giving is honest, even if it looks small, God breathes on it. Barnabas didn't have to stage his move. His sincerity spoke louder than their show, and the kingdom was strengthened by his authenticity. So, beloved, here's the remix. Don't give for clout, give from conviction. Don't fake total surrender. Live in honest surrender. Because in God's kingdom, honesty weighs heavier than optics every time. Fam, let's sit with David for a minute. Because if anybody understood the need for a heart check, it was him. David was a man after God's own heart, but he also knew his heart was capable of drift. He led armies, wrote psalms, reigned as king, yet he prayed in Psalm 139, verses 23-24, "Search me, O God, and know my heart. Test me and know my anxious thoughts. See if there is any offensive way in me, and lead me in the way everlasting. That prayer tells you something. David didn't trust his own read of himself. He knew his motives could get cloudy, his desires could get twisted, his heart could deceive him. So instead of pretending he had it all together, he handed his insides to God and said, "Shine your light on me. Show me what I can't see." And this ain't just theory. David's life proves the need. When he fought Goliath, his motive was pure, God's glory. When he danced before the Lord, his motive was joy. But when he took Bathsheba, his motive was lust. When he arranged Uriah's death, his motive was cover-up. Same man, different seasons, different motives, and the outcomes showed it. That's why David didn't pray, "Lord, look at my deeds." He prayed, "Lord, search my heart," because he knew the deeds can look good while the heart rotten. And only God's inspection can reveal what we try to hide. Fam, that's the model. Real strength ain't in flexing like your motives always pure. Real strength is inviting God to test them, expose them, cleanse them. David wasn't perfect, but he was repentant. And that's why God still called him a man after my own heart. Beloved, let that be our prayer too. Search me, Lord. Show me the parts I can't see. Purify my why so my what can bring you glory. Fam, here's the first challenge of this block. Practice a daily motive check. Simple question, deep impact. Why am I really doing this? Before you post, before you give, before you serve, before you speak, pause. Ask the why behind the what. Because activity without clarity can lead you off track. Here's how you can make it practical. In the morning, when you plan your day, jot down the key things you expect to do. Next to each one, write the motive. Am I doing this to honor God or to impress people? Am I saying this out of love or out of pride? Am I serving to build the kingdom or to build my brand? That little pause of honesty can expose a lot. And don't stop at the morning, run spot checks through the day. You about to post? Ask, do I want people to see Jesus or just see me? You about to give? Ask, am I sowing for applause or out of love? You about to correct somebody? Ask, is this about truth or about flex and control? Those quick heart checks keep you aligned. And here's the key. Don't just ask yourself, invite God in. Pray David's prayer, search me, O God, and know my heart. Let him highlight the hidden stuff. Because self-examination alone can still miss blind spots, but God sees what you can't. Fam, this ain't about perfection, it's about alignment. Daily motive checks keep you from drifting. They shift you from performing for people to living for God. And over time, that habit rewires your why until purity becomes second nature. So, beloved, start tomorrow. One simple question before each action. Why am I really doing this? That's how you keep your motives clean and your worship pure. Fam, here's the next challenge. Practice secrecy. Do something good that nobody knows about. No selfies, no captions, no humble brags, no just out here serving the Lord posts. Just raw obedience in the dark with no spotlight but heavens. Jesus laid it out clear in Matthew 6:3-4. When you give to the needy, do not let your left hand know what your right hand is doing, so that your giving may be in secret. Then your Father, who sees what is done in secret, will reward you. That's a principle. Secrecy purifies motives. When nobody knows but God, you can't do it for applause. You can only do it for love. So here's the challenge. This week, pick one secret act of service. Pay for somebody's groceries without signing your name. Slip encouragement into somebody's life without telling them it was you. Send a gift, clean a space, pray for somebody by name without broadcasting it. And when the urge hits to brag, fight it. Smile and let God hold the receipt. Here's why it matters. Secrecy detoxes your heart from performing. It starves the ego. It retrains your soul to serve for God's well done instead of people's applause. And the wild part, those secret seeds often produce the loudest fruit. God multiplies what's sown in humility. Fam, secrecy ain't about hiding good works forever. It's about checking your why. If you can serve in silence, you can serve in purity. If you can bless without being seen, you can trust God to be your reward. So, beloved, here's your move. This week, choose one thing to do in secret. Don't even tell your circle. Let heaven be the only witness. And watch how it shifts your heart from performing to truly worshiping. Fam, here's the last challenge in this block. Journal your motives and pray through them. Because let's be honest, sometimes we don't see our own blind spots until we write them down and invite God to speak on them. Reflection and prayer ain't busy work. They're tools to expose what hides beneath the surface. Here's the practice. At the end of the day, sit with a notebook and write out 3 things you did. Next to each one, jot down the why. Be brutally honest. Was it love? Was it pride? Was it fear? Was it for applause? Then, don't just close the book, open your heart. Pray Psalm 139, verse 23. Search me, O God, and know my heart. Test me and know my anxious thoughts. Invite him to shine light on anything you missed. And here's the power. When you journal daily, you start seeing patterns. Maybe you notice that most of your yeses come from fear of disappointing people. Maybe you realize your generosity spikes when eyes are watching, but dips when no one notices. That awareness is the beginning of freedom. God can't heal what you keep hiding, but he will heal what you confess. Don't overcomplicate it. Write the action, write the motive, pray the prayer, let God respond. And if he reveals something ugly, don't run, repent, shift, surrender. That's how motives get purified. Fam, journaling ain't about making pretty entries, it's about honest ones. Prayer ain't about polish, it's about presence. The goal ain't perfection, it's transformation. And the more you practice this, the more your why will start aligning with his will. So, beloved, here's the challenge. Tonight, grab a pen. Write your actions, write your motives. Pray, Lord, reveal what I can't see. And watch how he reshapes your heart one page at a time. Fam, let me give you this final charge. Stop wearing yourself out for people's applause. Their claps fade, their likes disappear, their words shift with the wind. One moment they cheer, the next they criticize. If your motives anchored in them, you're going to stay tossed like waves, never steady, never satisfied. But when your motives root in God's approval, that's freedom. 'Cause his well done don't expire. His affirmation don't depend on trends. He ain't impressed by polish, he's moved by purity. And once you know he sees you, loves you, and accepts you, you stop living for the crowd and start walking in peace. Paul said it in Galatians 1:10. Am I now trying to win the approval of human beings or of God? If I were still trying to please people, I would not be a servant of Christ. That's the line right there. You can't serve both applause and authenticity. You got to choose. So here's my encouragement. Choose freedom. Choose motives rooted in love, not image. Choose obedience over optics. Choose worship over performance. When you do, even the small acts carry eternal weight. Even when nobody claps, heaven records it. Even when nobody notices, God smiles. Fam, your worth ain't in what they say, it's in what he already declared. And he said you are chosen, you are loved, you are his. So let this be your anthem. I don't need their applause, I already got his approval. Beloved, don't shrink, don't fake, don't front. Walk in authenticity. Check your motives, align your heart, and live free. Because when the why is right, the what becomes worship, and that's a life God can use. Fam, as we close this 3 p.m. hour, let me leave you with this. Motives matter. The world might only see what you do, but heaven sees why you did it. And that's both convicting and comforting. Convicting because it strips away the mask. Comforting because it frees you from performing. You don't got to fake strong. You don't got to hustle for claps. You don't got to build your life on likes or applause. All God asks is honesty. All he wants is the why behind your what. And beloved, when your motive's pure, even the smallest act becomes sacred. A whispered prayer, a hidden gift, a quiet sacrifice. Heaven counts it all. So as you step out of this block, let this be your rhythm. Check your heart before you check your task list. Ask yourself daily, why am I doing this? If the answer ain't worship, pause. Reset, realign, because God ain't after the performance, he's after the purity. And here's the promise. When you live with motives anchored in him, you'll walk lighter. No more living for people's applause. No more burning out from performance. Just steady peace in knowing that heaven approves. So walk free, fam. Walk true. Walk authentic. And remember, this life ain't about optics. It's about obedience. And obedience, when rooted in love, is the kind of worship God never overlooks. This ain't your Sunday school. This is YNB Spirituals. Book closed. Fam, let's keep